Welcome to Amazing Mind, the Hypnosis TV talk show that introduces you to all sorts of people and interesting ideas related to subconscious behavior. My name is Lisa Machenberg, hypnotherapist, HMI instructor, and host. Today I have an amazing guest. I have Isabel Gardner. She is an M.F.T. from Antioch University, and today she is going to teach us about mindfulness and manifestation. Please help me welcome my guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm really excited because I'll tell you why. Everybody talks about mindfulness. You can't open up the internet, you can't listen to the radio without someone talking about mindfulness. What's mindfulness?
Well, mindfulness is the ability to pay attention in the present moment on purpose without judgment.
But now, I rather ruminate about the past and worry about the future.
That's right.
That's where most of my mind is.
And that's where most of people's minds are. They're in the future, feeling anxious about possibilities that they have no control over, or they're reminiscent about the past, which is also something that's already happened and you can't really change it. And the problem with that is that we're seldom and rarely in the actual present moment where we are fully alive and authentic.
So what's the advantage of being in the present moment? If it's so hard and nobody's doing it, why should anybody bother?
Well, it is where we actually are with least pain. Or at least if we do feel pain, if we can accept that pain and learn how to deal with it, and then we can overcome the suffering that we are in because we avoid being in the present moment.
How do we get there?
We get there by practicing mindfulness.
How?
Mindfulness consists of a lot of things, and there's plenty of different techniques and practices that you can do, and you can practice it every day in any situation. And I have a practice that you can use.
So you're saying we can do it here at HMI Studios right now?
Absolutely. And you can apply this anytime, anywhere in your life.
Well, so let's do it for the people, for me, the people here, and everyone watching around the world.
Okay. So it's an acronym for STOP.
Stop.
Yes. So the first letter, S, stands for stop and reflect. So when you're under a very stressful situation or any kind of stress, this could be anything from standing in front of the mirror, looking at yourself and being critical, or being engaged in an argument with another person. Usually we have an automatic reaction to these situations. But instead of automatically reacting on autopilot and being at the mercy of the unconscious feelings that might appear, we stop ourselves and we reflect. And the next thing we do is take a breath, as in T.
S, stop, T, take a breath.
Take a breath, and what that means is to focus in on your breath, and this is a way of calming down the automatic nervous system. So we focus on the breath, and by saying that I mean you literally focus on the breath. You think about it going through your nostrils, down your lungs, down your belly, and you follow it. You follow it in and out, and by doing that, you're literally calming down your entire system. And you can do this just 3 breaths, or if you need 10 breaths, take 10 breaths. And after you've done that, you go to O, the O in stop, and that's for observing. Observing your emotions, observing your sensations and the experience that you're having in your body. And this is a way of connecting with your physical body and the sensations, and name it. And see, if you're upset, for example, and you're feeling angry, you might feel hot in your face. Now pay attention to that and really observe yourself. And when you're done with observing these, physical sensations, you start paying attention to your thoughts. What's going on in your mind? Most of the time we're making up stories. We have this brain that is constantly coming up with thoughts, and they're usually not facts. They're usually not based in facts, even though we tend to believe so. And once you have a chance to reflect over these thoughts and look at them in a non-judgmental way, that's when we are able to do the P, which is to proceed, and use our wisdom instead of using our emotional autopilot.
Isabel, may I tell you a story about the very first time you taught me stop?
Mm-hmm.
And this happened last night.
Yes.
I have 3 teenagers.
Yes.
I live on planet teenager.
Like me.
Yes, twin 19-year-old sons, a 17-year-old daughter. And I say to my daughter, please pick one personality and stick with it all day, please. My son was playing Steal My Car 3, or whatever that thing is called. And I said, can you do the dishes? Yes, Mom. Can you please do the dishes? Of course, Mom. Can you please do the dishes? Yes, of course I will. Came back an hour later, he's still playing Steal My Car 3.
Right.
S, I stopped.
Yes.
T, I needed 10 to take a breaths.
Right.
Oh, I observed my feelings. I am angry, I am disrespected. I am telling myself the story, he's disrespectful, he's entitled, how could he do this to me? And then P, as I realized, no, the story was, feelings are not facts. He was not doing this to me. That was the story I was telling myself. He was distracted by Steal My Car 3. And all I had to do for P is proceed was to say, son, pause, P for pause, pause the game, or I will turn it off, but pause the game, finish the dishes, and return to your game. Instead of having a huge reaction. So there's an example of actually using stop in a real life situation. And what it is, instead of escalating a parenting situation, it repaired it.
Yes, exactly. And that's the wonderful thing about mindfulness. And the more you use this exercise, and you know, maybe initially when you're under severe stress, you're probably not going to remember this exercise, but if you start to apply it to your everyday life, you will eventually will become second nature. And you will actually start applying this to every situation. And it's quite magic.
Can you tell me the time? Come on, you and me. We won't tell anybody.
Yes, well, it has an incredible impact. I was standing in line once, and I was at Ralph's, and it was my turn, and I asked the clerk if she had handles on her paper bags. And she looked at me and was really rude, and she said something like, we have had handles on paper bags for a long time. My normal reaction, the old one, would be to get offended and be upset. And maybe call for the manager.
Yeah. What story did you tell yourself when she said, we haven't had handles for over 20 years? How old are you again?
So, exactly. So that would be the old story. But this time around, I didn't do that. I actually used stop. And instead, I looked at her with a very kind tone. I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. And she changed. See, that's the other magic about mindfulness, because when you stop reacting back with anger, even if somebody's coming on to you with anger, and you're responding with no anger or with just kindness, kindness is a big part of mindfulness, by the way, then what happened was that she apologized. She calmed down, she apologized, and we removed the anger from the room. And instead we could be two people in the present moment, just meeting each other.
Yes.
It's actually quite beautiful, and it works.
Powerful.
It's powerful, it works, and you know, most people, when they live on autopilot and they're just reacting to the world left and right, you know, whatever is coming at you, and you're just reacting towards it without having the ability to stop yourself and use your wise mind. The problem with that is that it really creates a lot of difficulties in relationships around you. And it prevents you from being successful.
Exactly. It is not effective.
No, it's not effective.
It is not practical.
Makes
to
enemies.
Be reactive.
Yes, of course.
It is effective to stop and be kind.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to switch topics with your permission. And, you know, I've known you 20 years, Isabel.
I know.
And you have been trying to sell a screenplay to a major studio for 20 years.
Yes.
It only happened after you started studying mindfulness and became an M.F.T.
Yes.
Can you tell us how you turned mindfulness into manifestation and how we can do it too?
Yes, sure. I mean, you know, well, I think that one of the most important things was that I started to cultivate kindness towards myself. So instead of being so completely absorbed into being constantly perfect, being the perfect person, for example. I started to cultivate mindfulness, be more kind, be more self-compassion, forgive myself for not being perfect, and forgiving the world for not being exactly the way I wanted it to be. And I stopped controlling the outcome of everything. And I started to just live in the present moment and be able to accept it for what it was.
It sounds like your life had a lot of shoulds.
Yes. So I was, and which I think is one of the, for me, should is a really bad word. It is the worst word in the vocabulary, because we tend to, the suffering that people go through is really the idea that I should be here when in fact I'm here. And then you can't live in the present moment because you're so obsessed with the idea that things should be different. And that becomes very, it takes over your life, basically. And when you're able to, and this doesn't mean that you can't have dreams and aspirations. It just means that if we're here and we're actually living in the present moment, even if we don't like it, but we accept it, that it's real, then we can actually start to act, as opposed to living somewhere else.
Now, I know that there's a non-disclose, but can you at least tell us just the studio that you optioned your screenplay to?
At 20th Century Fox.
And I'm going to say your name again is Isabel Gardner, because we're going to look for that film. In addition to being a successful screenwriter, you also now have a private practice.
Yes.
How can people come and see you?
Well, they can come to my office in Santa Monica, and they can find the information on my website.
Can you give it to us?
Yes, it's mindfulnessla.com.
Now, do you speak any other language?
Swedish.
You speak Swedish?
Yes.
Who knew? And although you're based in the greater Los Angeles area, do you ever do telephone appointments or FaceTime or Skype?
Yes, I do.
Well, this show, Amazing Mind, is being seen all over the world.
Yes.
And again, how can everybody get hold of you so that he or she can learn mindfulness, how to be present in the present, and how to actually manifest your goals by detaching from the outcome? Give it to us again.
Mindfulnessla.com.
I want to thank Isabel Gardner for being a guest on my show. I would like everyone to stay tuned, because when we return, we're going to meet an author, Stephen Webster, who's going to teach us about the holistic approach to hypnotherapy. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up for you on Amazing Mind.